Shout out Warren Buffett. Alright, what is up, fellow hobby joggers? Today is Saturday, and I told you last week we are now doing one take Saturday. What does that mean? It means straight bars, no hook. All killer, no filler. It means we're gonna stand on business. This is the thing, we stand on business on the Supwell channel. A lot of these other boys are letting the business stand on them. Just take a look around and you'll know what I mean. But we're just gonna go straight through today, rip through, just straight heat with the shoes. No shenanigans, no jokes, just gonna give you the 5 best shoes for 4-hour marathoners. I don't need to give you my whole bio, but I've run in a lot of shoes this year. I think upward of 60, maybe even 70, probably between 50 and 70 pairs of shoes at this point. When I'm thinking about what makes a good shoe for a 4-hour marathoner, we're gonna leave it in. We're gonna leave that in. The thing is, I need to turn around to see what it was. I could see on the lens that was a white Ford Expedition. This is kind of like the white Ford Expedition of running shoes. Or maybe it's a Ford Explorer. Regardless, what I think about and what I look for in a marathon shoe for 3:30, 4:30, 5-hour marathons, or for me, what I'd look for in a comfortable long run shoe, because that's essentially what a 4-hour marathon is. It's a long run. It needs to be, number 1, comfortable. Number 2, stable. And number 3, have some element of speed assistance in it. So all the shoes that I'm going to highlight today have those key 3 things. Comfort, defined as you're not going to feel your knees slamming into the ground. You get some good protection. Stability means your feet aren't going to be wobbling around. You get a good, nice planted ride. And then speed assistance, either some pep from the foam or a nice rocker or a tall stack stabilized by a plate. So those are the 3 things. Those are the shoes. Before we fully dive into the list, I did want to say, if you have a shoe like the Brooks Glycerin, I think this is the 21 here. Yeah, if you have a shoe like the Brooks Glycerin 21, or if you have a shoe like the Hoka Clifton, and this is what you have been training in for your entire marathon build, and you are 10 days away, and you've done all your long runs in it, you've done 2-hour long runs, 3-hour long runs in these shoes, these are gonna be completely fine to get you to the finish line of that marathon. If you're a first-time marathon runner and you're questioning what shoe you should go with and you're close to your race, go with the one, whether it's these or whatever else it is, a Nike Vomero, an Asics Nimbus, just go with what you've been training in that's gonna have you feeling comfortable if you're getting down to crunch time and trying to figure it out. However, if you're a few weeks out or a few months out or planning on jumping into a 4-hour marathon build, these 5 shoes are the ones that I would go out and buy to do that job. And the other thing is, all these shoes here are fairly durable and versatile, meaning you can train in them and race in them. So these were just props, Brooks Glycerin 21 and Hoka Clifton 9. They are not going on our list, but actually Brooks Glycerin, this is a good honorable mention. Same thing as the Brooks Ghost Max 2. The foam is bouncy. It has some decent stability. They also do have a stability version of this. One of my friends, one of Mason's friends' moms, who's now my friend, she runs 3:15 marathons, and she does that in the Brooks Glycerin fueled by dates. What's up, Anara? You can go back. Putting in work, let's go. We're gonna leave it in. Yeah, Jessica runs full marathons fueled by dates. She said, Morton who? So Glycerin is a great shoe, but let's start it off as we typically do. We're gonna go low price to high price today. First one, this is gonna be no surprise to anybody who's watched the channel before. How's the shadows? That's good. Asics Nova Blast 4, $140 shoe. Comfortable, protective, stable, some speed assistance, and at the $140 price point, that's what this shoe is lacking versus all of these other shoes that I'm about to highlight. Everything else that goes up in price above $140 on this list, gonna have a bouncier foam. It's not necessarily gonna be lighter weight. The weight in here is actually pretty competitive, but a lot of these other shoes have bouncier foams, more exciting rides, nicer rockers. But this thing is very comfortable, very stable, and lightweight, especially for the amount of foam that you're getting. So if you're used to running in something like the Clifton, this is gonna feel just a little bit more protective, a tiny bit bouncier, and way better once you get past an hour on feet. So I have tested this through a 22 or 23 mile long run. I had some watch drama and I had to track part of that run with my phone. This was actually 6 or 7 months ago. I have no idea how I remember all the details of this run. I think because I know some petty person is gonna say, did you really run 23 miles if your Strava is on? So I came back to my house when my watch died at 16 miles and got the phone to track the last 6, and then 16 plus 6 is 22. But I think there was also a mile there when I ran back. Regardless, I have also 100 something other miles in this shoe. It's an awesome shoe. The downside, other than it not being super bouncy, the wet weather grip is not the best. All the other shoes also have great wet weather grip, but if you're looking for the best value shoe to train in, to race in, it's gonna be fairly durable. You can get 350, 400. I've seen some high mileage reports on this shoe. This is gonna be great. So you can use it for your everyday miles. You could even use it for some walking. I think some of the colorways on this look pretty clean as well, so you could even use it for casual use if you want. Not really my cup of tea, but Asics Novablast 4, this is the one that I would get if you want great value in that 4-hour marathon shoe and a protective shoe. This is the key thing, because in this $140 price point, a lot of the foams, like in the Clifton, this is $145, but a lot of the foams don't stand up that well to weight and time on feet. If you are a bigger runner or just planning to be doing a lot of these 3-hour long runs in that 4-hour marathon, this will stand up well while not completely breaking the bank. And just look how much stack is in here. And if we compare it to something like the Clifton, you can see a little bit wider, a little bit taller. Overall, the foam in here is just gonna give you much more protection with a little bit more pep and pop as well. So Asics Novablast for $140. Now, going up in price, and I typically like to get one at each price range. I actually don't have one at 160 today. We're jumping straight from 140 to 180. This is the Puma Mag Max Nitro, and it's like an elevated version of the Novablast 4. So if you like the idea of everything that I was just talking about with the Novablast 4, but you want that wet weather grip and you want a little bit more bounce, that is the Mag Max Nitro. Now, I did a 50-mile review of this 2 weeks ago now. It was actually a one-take Saturday. Well, it wasn't a one-take Saturday. It was I probably was chopping things up on that video, but we're not chopping things up today. Well, we are chopping things up in the slang colloquial term. Just chopping it up. But I'm not gonna chop up the footage. We're leaving it completely raw. The Puma grip in here is great. So wet weather, dry weather, this will grip. And what I was gonna say is I had this at 50 miles 2 weeks ago. I'm now running it 2 or 3 more times, and it's just getting better and better. I did my Saturday recovery run in it this morning, and it was awesome. It seems that it's getting a little bit smoother, a little bit softer. And I did a head-to-head with this, the Glycerin Max and the Skyward X. This is definitely the least exciting out of that group, but compared to the Novablast, it's just a little bit more exciting, a little bit more protective. And if you're looking for a shoe that you can just put a ton of miles on during training, one shoe to do everything for your first marathon, this is probably the best shoe on the market. It reminds me a lot of something like the Nike Vomero 17. One of my favorite daily trainers, probably my favorite workhorse daily trainer of the past 2 years. Yes, even above the Novablast. Yes, probably even above the 860. It's just it came out last year, so I don't highlight it a ton, which is a little bit sad. But I love the Nike Vomero 17. It has a nice soft feel without being overly mushy, and it doesn't feel too anything. And it's one of those shoes that just gets the job done without you having to think about it, and you'll hit 10 miles without even realizing it. That's the exact thing I get from the Puma here. It is the best version of a workhorse that you can get. So if you want something that's great for everyday training, great for if you need to do trails, just gonna be super reliable, that's the Mag Max Nitro. There's not a lot of weirdness. Yes, there's a ton of foam, but once you break it in, it doesn't feel overly stacked. The stability is also good. This is the most stable out of the plus 45 millimeter stack height shoes. Again, if we compare to a normal shoe here, I just have the Clifton out here as our example today for a standard shoe. It's a little bit wider, a little bit taller. You can really see the width as we go down to the bottom here, and then the 4-foot width is gonna be just huge as well. Clifton's actually a decently wide shoe. Let's compare it to the standard Glycerin here. Man, the Glycerin is just bulbous. The Glycerin is just bulbous, but you got a lot of foam in the Mag Max Nitro. This is, I think Running Warehouse measured it to be 47 millimeters in the heel, so tons of protection, and the more miles you put into the foam, the better it gets, both in the run and throughout the life of the shoe, up to a certain point. Of course, I'm sure once we get to 350 miles, it's not going to feel as great, but this is going to be a durable tank, not going to bottom out whatsoever. So if you want a comfortable, fun, stable shoe, that would be the Mag Max Nitro at $180. Now, another $180 shoe. Next one here. New Balance SC Trainer V3. You might be surprised to see me highlight this guy on the list. Well, maybe you're not surprised. Maybe I'll use this as a thumbnail. I kind of like how this shoe looks. I like how this colorway looks way better than my colorway. This is the women's colorway. I think they call it Cyber Jade. This is Charlie's colorway. You can see it's Charlie's colorway because there's dirt on the front. I don't let any dirt get on my shoes. You gotta wipe your shoes down. Somebody asked me, by the way, if water, I think this is an old wives' tale or something, water can damage race shoes. I said, no, that's not true, bro. Wipe your shoes down, damp paper towel, that's all you need. If you wipe your shoes down after every time they get dirty, you can get to 130 miles and your shoe will still be looking like this. I digress. I did not love the SC Trainer V3 personally, but I'm also not a 4-hour marathoner. I'm training for a 240 something marathon right now. I've run sub 3s a handful of times, and most of my paces are a little bit quicker in training. I run my everyday miles around 7:30. I run my race pace workouts around 6 flat. I run some of my other workouts in the 5s. And the SC Trainer V3, what's great about it is also what makes it not the best shoe for me. It's not super aggressive, and it doesn't have the same teeth, the same bite that the more aggressive race shoes have, which makes it an awesome shoe for someone who wants everything that I just highlighted: protection, comfort, stability with a tiny bit of fun. That's the SC Trainer V3. It is pretty similar to the Mag Max Nitro. The difference is you do get the carbon fiber plate, and it's a touch lighter than the Mag Max Nitro. So if you're deciding between these two, Mag Max Nitro, or SC Trainer V3, we're gonna leave it in. We leave in the mistakes. That's one take started. The SC Trainer V3, this is gonna take it for that lightweight. I also think if you want just a little bit more aggressive, this will take it over the Mag Max Nitro. The foam in the Mag Max Nitro is better. It's bouncier, but the plate in here stiffens this up way more. So there is a carbon fiber plate. It's not a race shoe, it's a training shoe, carbon fiber plate, but the foam isn't super bouncy in this. So that's why I didn't love it. It wasn't super bouncy, but Charlie loves this shoe. This is one of her favorite shoes for running fast. Her fast paces are different than mine. Her fast paces are more around 8:30. So if you are in that range and you're looking for your first carbon fiber plated shoe and you don't want to spend over $200, this would be good. And the carbon does help it stand up really well to time on feet. I did test my pair, I have the black pair, and a long run over the summer, which I lost all the footage. If you guys follow my channel, you probably heard me talk about this. When I was out in California at the running warehouse thing, one of my SD cards got wiped. So it was a cool long run in one of the most beautiful places I'd ever been. It's called Montaña de Oro, Montana. Montaña de Oro near San Luis Obispo, or in San Luis Obispo. I did 20 miles down the hills, up the hills, through dirt paths, through the trails, and the SC Trainer V3 stood up really well. So the grip is actually quite impressive. I would definitely take a shoe like the Mag Max Nitro over this if I were to choose again, but in a pinch, this is gonna be great for handling anything. So if you want a pretty capable shoe and more specified for long runs, that's what this would do. So lighter weight SC Trainer V3, this is more substantial, more protective in the Puma Mag Max Nitro. This is gonna take it if you only want something for long runs, and especially long runs with race pace. If you want something with a little bit more range and versatility for everyday running, that would be the Mag Max Nitro. I personally would choose the Mag Max Nitro, but if you really want a lighter weight option, maybe you are a little bit of a lighter runner looking for your first 4-hour marathon shoe or your first race shoe, this could be a nice pick, coupled with, if you need stability, this is a pretty stable shoe with the wide base and the carbon fiber plate. So going up in price here. Next one, Saucony Endorphin Pro 4, another carbon fiber plated race shoe, and you can see it's carbon because all the brands are doing this now. It's not a carbon shoe unless you got the window. So Difference here between the SC Trainer V3, which is 180, this is 225. This has a real race foam. The fuel cell foam that's in the SC Trainer V3, that is the same or very similar compound to what's in the Rebel. It's a training foam. It's not the most exciting. That's really what's holding back the SC Trainer V3 from being great. This is a great shoe because it has the bouncy race foam with the plate, not the most stiff or rigid plate, but it doesn't have a super aggressive ride. So it's like you take the SC Trainer V3 and make it just a touch better. And that's why it has $45 more of an expensive price tag on it. So I actually ran a 26-mile long run. I ran a marathon in this pair throughout the neighborhood here in the rain. It performed really well. It's soft, it's bouncy, it's comfortable. Not the most aggressive, and if you're running 5-minute paces, I wouldn't go for this, but this is a 4-hour marathon video. So who would this shoe work best for? If you don't need the most stability, but you like a soft, comfortable ride, maybe you train in something like the Hoka Mach 5 or Hoka Mach 6 or the New Balance Rebel, and you're looking for a race day version of that, that's where I'd go for the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. Or say you train in the Nike Invincible and you want a race day version of that, that's where I'd go for the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. Now the heel can be a little bit narrow, so let's compare this guy to the Mag Max Nitro, and this is where you can really see some of the differences here. So I do want to call out of all these shoes, this is going to have the worst stability, but it's also one of the best value if you want a true carbon fiber plated race shoe. So trade-offs here are, yes, it's lightweight, yes, it's fun, yes, it's bouncy, but the stability isn't going to be the best. So if you are an aggressive 4-foot runner or you just don't have any concerns about stability whatsoever, this would be a good pick. It's a really fun shoe while still having some comfort baked in, and the grip is great. So everything that you look for in a race shoe. I also really like the upper. Haven't talked too much about the uppers today, but this one is noticeable. You get a nice stretchy tongue, and it's just one of those shoes that when you lace it up, you feel like you want to run fast. It's a really fun shoe. I like this foam a lot, the Power Run PB that's in here. So last version, or last shoe here, the reason I said version, this is the Hoka Cielo X1, is because I was gonna say this is like a more amped up version of the Saucony Endorphin Pro. So in the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, the previous version of this shoe, we saw a bit more aggression. The rocker was more curved. It felt maybe a touch more rigid, or like it just rolled through maybe a bit faster. And then the Saucony Endorphin Elite, the other race shoe from Saucony, came along and went to the super aggressive direction. So the Pro 4 lost a little bit of those teeth. It's almost like in the Cielo X1, Hoka took what Saucony did so well in the Pro 3 and just dialed it up. Comfort, bounce, stability, roll, it's all here. So this shoe has the most foam out of any of the carbon fiber plated race shoes right now. It has the most foam out of any of these shoes except maybe the Mag Max Nitro. This still does fall under the legal shoe rules from World Athletics, so there technically is below 40 millimeters in the back, but due to where the official people measure, Hoka skirted the rules, so they put 46 up in the middle. Technically, you just have to measure 12.5% from the back and have it be under 40 millimeters. So you get a ton of foam in here. It actually is a dual foam, meaning that you have two different types of foam. You can see there's a little bit of a split here. This bottom foam is a touch firmer. This top foam is a little bit softer. Super bouncy ride, super protective. You're not gonna feel the ground at all. If someone asked me to make a list of the shoes with the least ground feel, this would be on it. Mag Max Nitro would 100% be on it. Probably Brooks Glisher and Max would be on it. Maybe Adidas Supernova Primo would be on. There's a lot of shoes with zero ground feel. This one is negative ground feel. It's almost an anti-gravity shoe. It is so bouncy. It rolls through really nice. I do have to say durability is suspect. You can see I've torn up a little bit of the foam, and we have had some reports of this rubber piece actually, so I think I'm at 70 miles right now. Some people have reported this rubber piece peeling off, which is super weird. And the MSRP of this guy is $275. So that is the main concern probably with this one, durability. But I've also had other people give reports at 300 miles and say it's great and the foam holds up well other than the outsole. And I have heard Hoka is honoring, if you do have any weird issues, Hoka will send you a fresh pair. So just buyer beware with the outsole, especially if you're an aggressive heel striker. But in terms of all the other elements, The shoe is put together really well. It feels like it warrants that $270 price point, or $275, because of the ride experience. It's really bouncy, it's really fun. So if you're going for that 4-hour marathon and you want the best of the best on race day, this is the race shoe that I would pick. More comfortable than the Alphafly, more comfortable than any of the Saucony shoes. I haven't tested the new Adidas shoe, but this is like a more fun, more comfortable version of the Adios Pro 3, which was another shoe that a lot of 3:30 and 4-hour marathoners liked. More comfortable than the, I don't know, name a brand, Reebok, Avia. You guys remember Avia? I saw something about Fubu. Fubu. Was Fubu the... Was that Diddy's? Is Fubu canceled? Or is that... No, Damon John was Fubu, right? He's not canceled yet. Fila. Fila is another brand that used to be hot, and now they're dropping... I've seen them, they dropped the carbon fiber plated racer, and I'm guessing that the Cielo X1 is more comfortable than that. So yeah, this is the Hobby Jogger King right now. It is a little bit heavier than the other shoes, so this is about 260 or 250 grams in my size, whereas this is, I think, 220 to 230. The thing is, a shoe like the Clifton or the Asics Nova Blast 4 is roughly the same or similar weight to the Cielo X1, if we're thinking about comparing a standard daily trainer to this shoe. So it's not that it's so much heavier than other shoes on the market. And if we compared this Cielo X1 to the Mag Max Nitro, in my size, Mag Max Nitro is 320 grams. Cielo X1, again, about, I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's just say 260, roughly, plus or minus 10 grams. So it's still significantly lighter than these Max Stack training shoes, because you get the training foam in here, and you get just as much foam as a lot of the Max Cushion shoes, but softer and lighter because you can stabilize it with that carbon fiber plate. And look at that again, bang! You can see the little carbon fiber plate, and it really looks like a carbon fiber plated shoe. I was watching a Throttle House video last night on the Range Rover SV. By the way, Range Rovers are not Supple certified, but the letters Range Rover on the Range Rover Sport SV, they're literally in carbon fiber, and you could see that pack. That's the great thing about running as an enthusiast hobby. I could buy all the race shoes I want, and I still, it's like Range Rover SV, $200,000, Hoka Cielo X1, $280. And you get to exercise and come outside. So that was one take Saturday. That was literally one take, bro. I told you, standing on business. The other boys letting the business stand on them, doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 takes, trying to chop it up in Final Cut Pro because they don't have the flow. Little quick rundown. 140 Asics Nova Blast 4 if you want something mostly for training. That's gonna be comfortable, durable, bad wet weather grip though. Puma Mag Max Nitro. This is the thick boy. Bounce, comfort, nice smooth ride. Not the most fun, but once you start getting some miles in it, it will open up and give you some fun. This is my sleeper pick. I'm excited to see how this starts performing when we get up to 100 miles. Stay tuned for more testing on the Mag Max Nitro. SC Trainer V3. If you want your first carbon plated shoe, if you really just want to go to Carbon County, this would be my pick. I personally would go for the Mag Max Nitro, but if you want a little bit of a lighter weight, maybe you're lighter on your feet type of runner, smaller runner, then you could go for the SC Trainer V3 over the Mag Max Nitro. Saucony Endorphin Pro 4 if you want to graduate to a real legit racer. This is, as my guy Rye says, this is the people's carbon. It's light, it's fast, it's soft. Stability is not the best though, so that's the trade-off here. But if you're more of a 4-foot runner or a lighter runner or don't need a lot of stability, this is a good pick. And then bang, bada boom, bada bang, Cielo X1 is the king. If you want the best of the best on race day, $275 Hoka Cielo X1. Live from Mint Hill. It's Saturday afternoon. We just did a one take. I'm out. I'll see you tomorrow.